Tonight, we step back into a world long forgotten. A world where gods ruled the skies, where the sea whispered secrets, and where humanity lived under the gaze of immortals. This is the story of Greek mythology. So, find a comfortable position, relax your body, and let your mind drift as we slowly explore the ancient world of gods and legends. The beginning, before everything. Before the earth, before the sky, before time itself, there was only chaos. Not chaos as we imagine it today, but an endless, silent void, a vast emptiness stretching beyond understanding. From this stillness, something began to form. Slowly, gently, the first beings emerged. Among them was Gaia, the earth itself, solid, vast, and eternal. From Gaia came the mountains, the valleys, and the quiet strength of the land beneath everything. Then came Uranus, the sky stretching endlessly above her. Together, they formed the first union, earth and sky, intertwined. The first gods. From Gaia and Uranus came the first generation of powerful beings. They were known as the Titans. Among them were figures of immense strength and presence, beings who would shape the early universe. One of them was Cronus. But before Cronus would rise, there was tension growing silently between Gaia and Uranus. Uranus feared his children, their power, their potential, and so he hid them away deep within the earth. Gaia, in pain and anger, began to plan.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more. The first betrayal. In the quiet darkness, Gaia called upon her children. She asked for one of them to rise and challenge Uranus. Only one answered, Cronus. Armed with the sickle, forged from the earth itself, he waited. And when Uranus descended from the sky, Cronus struck. The sky was separated from the earth, and a new order began. Cronus became ruler of the cosmos. The Age of the Titans. Under Cronus, the Titans ruled. Time passed slowly, calm, almost peaceful. But deep inside, Cronus carried a fear, a prophecy. It was said that one of his own children would one day overthrow him. And so, when his children were born, he made a terrible choice. One by one, he swallowed them. A mother's plan. His partner, Rhea, watched this in silence until she could no longer bear it. When her youngest child was born, she made a decision. She hid the baby, far away, in secrecy, and instead she gave Cronus a stone wrapped in cloth. He swallowed it without question. The child was saved. The rise of a god. That child was Zeus. Hidden away, he grew in silence, raised far from Cronus, protected until the time came. When Zeus was strong enough, he returned, not with anger, but with purpose. He confronted Cronus and forced him to release the children he had swallowed. One by one, they emerged, alive.
The Olympians. Together, they became the new generation of gods, the Olympians. Among them were Poseidon, ruler of the oceans, Hades, guardian of the dead, and Zeus, ruler of the sky. But the world was not yet at peace. The Titans still remained, and a great war was about to begin. The Titanomachy. The war between the Titans and the Olympians was unlike anything before. It shook the heavens, the earth trembled, the seas roared endlessly. For 10 long years the battle continued, neither side gaining ground. Until Zeus made a choice. He freed the ancient beings hidden deep within the earth, the Cyclopes and the 100-handed ones. Grateful, they joined his side, and with their help, the tide began to turn. The fall of the Titans. The final battle came with thunder and fire. Zeus hurled lightning across the sky, shattering the forces of the Titans. And at last, the war ended. The Titans were defeated and cast into the depths of Tartarus, a place far below the earth. The age of the Olympians had begun. With the Titans gone and the Great War finally over, a quiet balance returned to the universe. The sky, the sea, and the underworld were divided among the 3 brothers. Zeus took the sky, ruling from above with thunder and light. Poseidon claimed the oceans, his domain vast and restless, stretching beyond the horizon. And Hades, quietly, took the underworld, a place unseen but always present. The earth itself remained open to all, the creation of humans. In this new world, life began to take shape. Some stories say that humanity was created by the Titan Prometheus, a thoughtful being, quiet, observant. He looked upon the empty earth and saw potential. From clay, he shaped the first humans, carefully, delicately, giving them form and life. They walked the earth, fragile, curious, unaware of the forces that surrounded them. The gift of fire. Prometheus watched over humanity, and he saw something missing. They struggled, in the cold, in the darkness. They had no fire. But fire was not meant for them. It belonged to the gods. And so Prometheus made a choice, a quiet, dangerous choice. He stole fire from the heavens and gave it to humanity. With it came warmth, light, and knowledge. And for the first time, humans began to grow. The wrath of Zeus. But nothing escapes the notice of Zeus. When he discovered what Prometheus had done, his anger was immediate. Fire was a divine gift, and it had been taken. Prometheus was punished. Bound to a rock high in the mountains, he faced an endless cycle. Each day an eagle would come, and each night he would heal, only for it to begin again. The first woman. But Zeus was not finished. He wanted to send a message not just to Prometheus, but to humanity itself. And so he created something new, a woman. Her name was Pandora. She was given many gifts, beauty, curiosity, and a mysterious jar. She was told never to open it. For a time, Pandora obeyed, but curiosity is a quiet force. It grows slowly until it cannot be ignored. One day, she opened the jar, and from it came everything humanity had never known: pain, sickness, fear, and sorrow. They spread across the world, changing it forever. Pandora, in fear, closed the jar, but it was too late. Only one thing remained inside: hope. The gods and their world. High above, on Mount Olympus, the gods lived together, each one different, powerful in their own way. There was Athena, calm, thoughtful, the embodiment of knowledge. Ares, fierce and relentless, the chaos of battle itself. Aphrodite, graceful yet unpredictable, capable of inspiring both love and conflict, and many others, each shaping the world in subtle and not so subtle ways. Humans and gods. The gods watched humanity closely. Sometimes they helped, other times they tested, and often they interfered in ways that humans could not understand. Storms, wars, love, misfortune, all were believed to be touched by the hands of the divine. The beginning of legends. As time passed, new stories began to form. Stories of heroes, of journeys, of impossible challenges. Men and women who stood between the mortal world and the will of the gods. Some were chosen. Others simply found themselves caught in something far greater than themselves. The Age of Heroes, beginning. One of the earliest was a man named Hercules, a figure of immense strength, but also great struggle. His life was shaped by trials set by the gods themselves, but his story was only one among many.
The trials of Hercules. The life of Hercules was not one of peace. Though powerful, he was not free from suffering. Through the will of the gods, he was given a series of impossible tasks. They would come to be known as the 12 labors, each one more difficult than the last. The Nemean lion. The first task was to defeat a creature that could not be harmed, the Nemean lion. Its skin was impenetrable, no blade could pierce it, but Hercules adapted. In silence, in patience, he faced the beast, not with weapons, but with strength. And in the end, he overcame it, wearing its skin as both armor and reminder. The Lernaean Hydra. The second labor brought him to a swamp, thick with mist. There lived the Hydra, a creature with many heads, and when one was cut, two would grow in its place. Each strike made it stronger, but Hercules was not alone. With careful thought and the help of fire, he stopped the heads from returning, and slowly the creature fell silent. The labors continue. There were more tasks: to capture creatures that could not be caught, to retrieve objects from distant lands, to descend into places no mortal should go. Each labor a test not only of strength, but of endurance and will. And with each one, Hercules became something more than human, a figure of legend. Perseus and the gaze of stone. Elsewhere, another story began, the story of Perseus, a young man given a task that few would survive, to face Medusa, a being whose gaze could turn any living thing into stone.
The journey. Perseus did not go unprepared. The gods offered their guidance, a reflective shield so he would not look directly, a blade sharp enough for the task, and quiet advice whispered through the wind. The encounter. In the stillness, he approached, carefully, step by step. Using the reflection, he avoided her gaze, and in a single moment, swift, silent, he struck. Medusa fell, and her story ended, but not without consequence. Theseus and the labyrinth. In another land, another challenge awaited, the story of Theseus, a hero who journeyed to face a creature hidden deep within a maze, the Minotaur, half man, half beast, trapped within the labyrinth. The labyrinth was not just a place, it was confusion itself. Endless paths, twisting and turning, designed so that none who entered could ever return. But the thread, But Theseus was given a gift, a simple thread. With it, he marked his path, step by step, through the darkness, until he found the creature. The battle. In the silence of the maze, they faced each other. No witnesses, no escape. And when it was over, Theseus stood alone. Following the thread, he returned to the light. The quiet presence of the gods. Through all these stories, the gods remained, watching, guiding, and sometimes changing the path entirely. They were not always kind, nor always cruel, but they were always present, a constant force just beyond human understanding. The world filled with stories. As generations passed, the world of Greek mythology grew richer. Every river, every mountain, every star in the sky had a story. Some whispered in fear, others told in wonder, all part of a world where the divine and the human were never truly separate.
The long journey of Odysseus. Far beyond the battles of heroes, beyond the strength of warriors like Hercules, there was another kind of story. A quieter one, but no less powerful. The story of Odysseus. The end of war and the beginning of a journey. After the great war of Troy had ended, and the fires of battle had finally faded, many heroes returned home, but not Odysseus. For him, the journey had only just begun. He set sail across the vast open sea, with the simple goal of returning home. But the sea is never simple. The land of the lotus eaters. Early in his journey, Odysseus and his men reached a quiet land, a place that seemed peaceful. Calm winds, soft air, and a strange, gentle silence. There grew a plant, the lotus. Those who consumed it did not feel pain or fear, but they also forgot everything: their home, their purpose, their past. Some of Odysseus's men tasted it, and slowly they began to drift, not physically, but in their minds. They no longer wished to leave, and so Odysseus, with quiet determination, brought them back, pulling them away before they were lost forever. The Cyclops. As the journey continued, they arrived at a rugged shore, a land of stone and silence. There they found a cave. Inside was food, shelter. But it was not empty. It belonged to a giant, the Cyclops, known as Polyphemus, a creature of immense size with a single eye and little patience for strangers. The trap. At first, they were curious. Then, they were trapped. Polyphemus sealed the entrance, and one by one, Odysseus's men began to disappear. There was no escape, no strength great enough to move the stone. But Odysseus did not rely on strength. He relied on thought, the escape. In silence, he formed a plan. He offered the Cyclops wine, strong, unfamiliar. And as the giant drifted into sleep, Odysseus and his men acted. They blinded him, just enough to escape, and at dawn, hidden beneath the sheep, they slipped out of the cave, returning to the sea. But not without consequence. The wrath of the sea. The Cyclops was not alone in this world. He was the son of Poseidon. And when Poseidon learned what had happened, his anger spread across the waters. The seas grew restless. Storms followed Odysseus, waves rose higher, and the journey became longer. The island of the enchantress. After many trials,
Odysseus arrived on another island, quiet, isolated. There lived Circe, a figure both graceful and dangerous. The transformation. Some of his men entered her home and did not return. When Odysseus followed, he discovered the truth. Circe had transformed them into animals, not out of anger, but simply because she could. A different kind of encounter. But Odysseus stood differently. With the help of a divine herb, he resisted her magic. And instead of conflict, something unexpected happened. They spoke. And over time, the island became a place of rest. Not for days, but for a year. A quiet pause in a long journey. The descent into the underworld. But the journey could not end there. Odysseus was told that to find his way home, he must seek guidance from the world beyond life. And so, he traveled to the edge of existence, to the realm of Hades, the land of shadows. The underworld was not a place of fire, but of silence. A vast, endless space, filled with shadows, faint echoes of lives once lived. There, Odysseus spoke with spirits, old friends, fallen warriors, and a seer who would guide him. The warning. He was told that his journey would not be easy, that even when close to home, danger would remain, and that patience would be his greatest strength. The continuing journey. And so, he returned from the underworld, back to the sea. But the path ahead was still long, filled with creatures, temptations, and trials. Each one testing not just his strength, but his mind. The world of Greek mythology is not only a world of gods and heroes, but of journeys, slow, uncertain, and deeply human.
The Song of the Sirens. As Odysseus continued his journey, the sea grew quieter. Almost too quiet. The wind softened, the waves calmed, and in the distance there was something else. A sound. Soft, beautiful, almost impossible to ignore. A dangerous beauty. It was said that there were beings who lived upon hidden shores, creatures who did not hunt with strength, but with voice. They were known as the Sirens. Their song was not loud. It did not demand attention. Instead, it invited. It promised understanding, comfort, answers to every question a person had ever carried. And those who listened never returned. A careful plan. Odysseus had been warned. Long before he reached these waters, he knew what awaited him. And so he made a quiet decision. He told his men to seal their ears with wax, so they would hear nothing. No song, no whisper, only silence. The choice to listen. But Odysseus was curious. He wanted to hear it, just once. And so he asked his men to tie him to the mast of the ship, tightly, securely, with no way to escape. The moment. As they passed, the song reached him. Clear, perfect, more beautiful than anything he had ever known. It called to him, not loudly, but personally. It spoke as if it understood him completely. And for a moment, he wanted nothing more than to follow it. Passing through, he struggled, pulled against the ropes, called out to his men, but they could not hear them. And slowly, the sound faded. The ship moved forward, and the danger was left behind. Between two terrors. But the sea always has more to offer. Not far ahead, there was a narrow passage. Two dangers on either side. Neither could be avoided. Only one could be chosen. Scylla. On one side was Scylla, a creature hidden in the rocks, with many heads, each one waiting, watching, silent, until the moment came. Charybdis. On the other side was Charybdis, not a creature of form, but of force, a great whirlpool, pulling everything downward, into the depths. An impossible decision. Odysseus stood at the center of this choice. To pass too close to Scylla meant losing some of his men. To drift toward Charybdis meant losing everything. The path forward. And so he chose, not the perfect path, but the possible one. He sailed closer to Scylla, and in a moment, the creature struck, swift, unseen, and just as quickly, it was over. Silence after loss. The ship moved on. The sea returned to its quiet rhythm. But something had changed. A reminder that even the right choices can carry a cost. The long road home. Time passed. Days, weeks, years. The journey continued. Each island, each storm, another piece of the story. And slowly, Odysseus drew closer to home. Ithaca, but not as before. At last, he arrived. The island of Ithaca, his home. But it was not the same. Years had passed, and in his absence, others had taken his place. The waiting. In his home, his wife remained, Penelope, patient, quietly resisting, holding on to the hope that one day he would return. A quiet return. Odysseus did not reveal himself immediately. Instead, he watched. He listened. He understood what had changed. And only then did he act. The end of a journey. After everything, the storms, the losses, the endless sea, he was home. Not as the man who had left, but as someone shaped by time, by struggle, by experience. The meaning of the stories. The myths of this world are not only about gods or monsters. They are about journeys, about choices, about endurance, and about the quiet strength required to keep going. The world of Greek mythology continues to unfold, with more stories, more heroes, and more mysteries, waiting in the silence.
The beginning of the Trojan War. Long before the long journey of Odysseus, before the fall of great cities, there was a single moment, a quiet event that would slowly, inevitably, lead to war. The Golden Apple. At a gathering of the gods, a celebration filled with light and music, one figure arrived uninvited. Eris. She did not shout, she did not argue. Instead, she placed a single object among them, a golden apple. Upon it were simple words, "For the fairest." A question without an answer. 3 goddesses, each powerful, each certain, claimed the apple. Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite. No god wished to decide. The choice was too dangerous. The judgment of Paris. And so, the decision was given to a mortal, a prince of Troy, Paris. The offer. Each goddess approached him, not with force, but with promise. Hera offered power, a kingdom beyond measure. Athena offered wisdom and victory in all battles. Aphrodite offered something else. Love. The choice. Paris chose Aphrodite. And with that choice, the balance shifted, because the love she promised belonged to someone else. Helen of Sparta. Far away, in another land, lived a woman known for her beauty. Helen. Her presence was said to be unlike any other. Calm, radiant, almost unreal. The beginning of conflict. Paris traveled to her,
and with the influence of the gods, he took her with him. Back to Troy. A world moves toward war. But Helen was not alone in the world. She had a husband, Menelaus. And her absence was not something that could be ignored. The call to arms. Menelaus called upon others, kings, warriors, men bound by old promises. Among them were figures whose names would echo through time. Agamemnon, his brother, and leader of the armies, and a warrior unlike any other, Achilles. The war begins. The Greek forces gathered, ships stretching across the horizon, and slowly they sailed toward Troy, the city of Troy. Troy stood strong. High walls, deep defenses. A city prepared. Within it was another great warrior, Hector. Calm, loyal, a protector of his people. Years of war. The war did not end quickly. It stretched on, year after year. Battles fought, won, lost. Neither side gaining true victory. The rage of Achilles. Among all the warriors, one stood above the rest. Achilles. Fast, powerful, almost untouchable. But even he was not free from emotion. A moment of anger. A conflict arose, not between enemies, but among allies. Achilles, angered, withdrew from battle. And without him, the balance shifted. The fall of Patroclus. In his absence, another stepped forward. Patroclus, wearing Achilles' armor, he entered the battlefield. For a moment, hope returned, but it did not last. Hector and Patroclus. In the clash of war, Patroclus met Hector, and there, his journey ended. The return of Achilles. When Achilles learned what had happened, his anger changed. It became something deeper, quieter, but far more powerful. The final duel. He returned to battle, not for glory, not for victory, but for something personal and vast. He faced Hector. Silence after battle. The duel was swift, and when it ended, the war itself seemed to pause. For a moment, there was only silence, a war without end. Yet, even after this, the war continued. Years passed, stories unfolded, and still, Troy stood. The story of Greek mythology moves slowly through moments like these, quiet beginnings leading to great consequences.
And now, the stories begin to fade. Not suddenly, not all at once, but slowly, like the last light of day slipping beneath the horizon. The wars, once loud, now distant. The voices of heroes, once strong, now echoes, carried gently through time. The footsteps of Odysseus have long since come to rest. The strength of Hercules, no longer needed. The courage of Achilles, now part of memory rather than battle. High above, on Mount Olympus, the gods remain, unchanged, timeless. Zeus still watches the sky, quiet thunder resting in his grasp. Poseidon moves beneath the waves, in the endless rhythm of the ocean. And deep below, in silence, Hades continues his watch, over a world unseen, but never absent. The earth itself still holds their stories, in the mountains, in the forests, In the quiet spaces between places, there are whispers, not loud enough to hear, but enough to feel, because these stories were never only about gods. They were about something else, something quieter, about choices made in moments of uncertainty, about journeys that take longer than expected, about loss and the quiet strength that follows. The myths speak, not in words, but in feeling, a long journey across an endless sea, like that of Odysseus, a burden carried, like that of Prometheus, a battle fought, not only with others, but within oneself. And slowly, as the night grows deeper, these ideas begin to soften. The details fade, the names become distant, the events less important than the calm they leave behind. The world of Greek mythology, once filled with thunder, with fire, with voices of gods, now becomes quiet, still, at rest. And as you remain here, in this moment, there is nothing more to follow, no journey to complete, no battle to face, only stillness, only calm, and the gentle understanding that all stories, no matter how vast, eventually come to an end. So now, let the ancient world drift away, let the mountains fade, the oceans quiet, the stars dim softly, and rest as the echoes of gods and heroes slowly disappear into silence.